What's good, YouTube? Zamcrow here, aka Scoot, back with the World Showdown Series, Season 5, Week number 1, and we're taking on the Shelsea Flinch Club, the FC, Chelsea FC, or the Shelsea FC Flinch Club, coached by Chilldrive17. I'm not sure he was under the same name last season in terms of team name, but we did play last season, and we had a pretty convincing win last time, purely due to matchup and due to really solid prep on our part. So, looking at my opponent's team, he has he has Aegislash. My opponent here was able to draft this Mon at 10th overall. The Mon right before us, if you remember our draft analysis, we did talk about how it makes me itch a little bit. Aegislash was taking the pick right before us, although we wanted it so bad. A little bit unfortunate, but it is what it is. My opponent put with that Mega Camera, Conkeldurr, whatever you want to call him, Ditto, Golbat, Porygon 2, Rotom Frost, Slowbro, Tyrantrum, Umbreon, and the Whimsicott. So pretty scary, quite intimidating team my opponent has, but it's kind of slow. Actually, it's very slow. Kind of is an understatement. Outside of Whimsicott, this team's just insanely slow, despite its insane bulk. But it does have two potential Trick Room users in Porygon 2 and Slowbro at the very least. My opponent has 3 different ways to remove hazards, but 3 different mons to remove hazards, but all the same way in Defog with a Golbat, Rotom Frost, and Whimsicott. My opponent only has 2 Stealth Rockers, which is Camerupt, or Mega Camerupt, and the Tyrantrum, and Umbreon is its form of, like, I guess Cleric and Heal Bell and Wish Pass and stuff like that. My opponent has 6 Pokemon with priority, with Umbreon and Rotom Frost both getting Sucker Punch, Aegislash with the obvious Shadow Sneak, and Conkeldurr with the obvious Mach Punch, and then Golbat and Umbreon both get the Hidden Tech Quick Attack, so that's pretty cool. Had to check out the priority since I do run a priority negating team with my ability Psychic Surge or Terrain. I'm pretty sure it's Surge. But yeah, immediately when I was prepping for this team, I started prepping again on pen and paper, with pen and paper. Do it on paper first, then bring it to the computer and do all my calcs and stuff like that. So prep should be a little bit better in all leagues now. So the little slump we've had in the CPC, we should be getting over that. But it hasn't been completely due to being outplayed and outprepped or anything like that. But so yeah, here we are with Week 1 of the World Showdown Series, Season 5. And like I mentioned, facing off against Chilldrive. Our team is Tapu Lele, Garchomp, Suicune, Crobat, Fortress, Alola Marowak, Licky, Magneton, Sneasel, Virizion, and Mega Alakazam. This week we're going to be bringing Tapu Lele, Garchomp, Suicune, Fortress, Licky, and the Mega Alakazam. Forgive me for my lazy nicknames. Anyways, my opponent doesn't have like a true Psychic switch in, like a Psychic resist, outside of Umbreon, which is bopped by Moonblast, and the only Pokemon my opponent has that resists both of those 2 attacks is the Aegislash, which is hit pretty hard with Shadow Ball, especially if it's in Blade mode. And I'm packing the Aromatherapy. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but I needed a way to, if I was to toxic something or be burned or paralyzed or poisoned to myself, Aromatherapy allows me to deal with that. But basically, once Aegislash and Umbreon are gone, I just come in and I spam Psyshock infinitely, basically. And Mega Alakazam also takes advantage of that. My team also appreciates the Psychic Surge, negating all priority as well. And then Mega Alakazam and Tapu Lele, you'll see that they have very similar movesets and similar roles in a sense. But yeah, definitely a super solid mon here in Tapu Lele. His only real counter, like I was mentioning, is Aegislash. I basically just spam Psyshock and Moonblast outside of Aegis-Lasher. So once Aegis-Lasher is beat down, which my team does pretty comfortably, being pressured by Mega Alakazam, Tapu Lele, and then having the Garchomp, which hits it super effectively. So looking pretty dope here with Tapu Lele. Really excited to try this mon out. But yeah, definitely rocking the Choice Scarf, which allows us to outpace all other Choice Scarfers. I want to talk about my speed for a second. You'll see I have 188 speed EVs with a Timid Nature, max special attack, 64 EVs in HP, and 4 EVs in defense. My speed investment allows me to speed creep a Rotom Frost by 2 points. And that sounds weird. Why not 1 point, right? We'll talk about that in a minute, though. So we're like, if he was to bring Choice Scarf Rotom Frost and was max speed Timid or something like that, we would outpace by 2 points. So I just want to show you guys what this looks like on screen real quick. So I'm setting at 300 speed. Remember that number. So Rotom Frost maxes out at 298. We're setting at 300. So next up we have Garchomp, which is a sub Swords Dance Salac Berry variant with Earthquake and Dragon Claw, just dual stab as our coverage. We have 96 attack EVs, which allows us to 2-hit KO a Porygon 2 after a Swords Dance, and basically Oko or 2-hit KO everything else on my opponent's team. Slowbro, Umbreon, Golbat, all those mons are 2-hit KO'd after a Swords Dance, so that's pretty dope. Have enough speed investment. So here's, like I was mentioning on top of Lele, my speed investment. So Rotom Frost maxes out at 298. I have my Garchomp with 236 EVs, which puts me at 299, outpacing Rotom Frost by 1 point. So my Garchomp outpaces Rotom Frost by 1 point. My Tapu Lele outpaces Rotom Frost by 2 points, meaning my Tapu Lele also outpaces my Garchomp by 1 point. Why does this matter? Exactly. So we'll talk about that in just a second. So if we come back up here, or I guess we can go back. Well, I guess we can't go back. But my opponent has Ditto, right? So, and he also has Rotom Frost, both of which could be Choice Scarf, either of which could be Choice Scarf, etc., etc. Anyways, the idea is that if my Garchomp sets up to +2 and doesn't have a sub up, first of all, if I have a sub up, it's not an issue. Second of all, I have Licky Licky as a backup answer, and then Tapu Lele is is another backup answer. So if I don't have a sub up and Ditto comes in and has its Choice Scarf, locks it, has its steals my stats and has a Choice Scarf, and it's going to knock me out with a +2 Earthquake. And you can see that my team has no Earthquake switch in, right? So I have to either sack something or let Garchomp go down. So I'm probably more than likely going to sack something. Potentially Licky Licky can take 2 hits, so that's something that I can do first. But in the case that Licky Licky's already been beat down to an extent where it can't take, Earthquake, and it looks like I'm going to be swept by a Ditto Chomp, +2 Ditto Chomp with a Choice Scarf, then I sack Licky Licky or sack Fortress, whatever it may be. Then I bring in Tapu Lele, which with my Choice Scarf is going to outpace my Garchomp by 1 point, setting at 300 speed instead of the 299 that my Garchomp set. So that's the significance there and why that matters. But like I mentioned, if I have a sub up, then his Ditto can come in and trace me, but I'll just knock him out with a Dragon Claw. Or if he comes in and traces me, becomes me with Ditto, becomes Ditto Chomp, +2 Ditto Chomp, then I can switch out to Licky Licky, and you'll see in a minute, I'm pretty defensive, and I can actually take 2 Earthquakes potentially, and get some crucial damage off with Ice Beam. So there's that, and my HP investment is 176 EVs. Nothing significant, but it does put me over the 400 HP point mark with 401 as my final stat. Pretty dope, as you can see here. So yeah, and you can also see my speed setting at 299. Really cool, I thought, in my opinion. But next up we've got Suicune. Oh yeah, for Garchomp, after my Salac Berries popped, I do outpace a Choice Scarf Rotom Frost. And yeah, that's just about it for that. Next up, we needed a little bit of defense here. So far, we've got 2 offensive mon. one specially offensive, one physically offensive, one a choice guard. Both pretty speedy, but we needed some defensive backbone here. So we've got Suicune here with leftovers and pressure, max HP, max SPDF, and Surf, Toxic, Protect, and Roar. So I have max SPDF, max HP here because, like I said, my opponent has the Mega Camera Up, and Mega Camera Up with a modest nature and max special attack is doing hell of a lot of damage with the sheer force ability, Earth Power, Fire Blast, Flamethrower, all putting out significant amounts of damage. With this HP and SPDF investment, I can come in on Stealth Rocks and avoid a 2-hit KO from a Mega Camera Up, and I can in turn 2-hit KO with Surf if he's max HP. If he's not max HP, Surf's going to drop him, period. But if he's max HP, which I expect because there's no sense in having speed or anything else, I assume that he will be max HP. So my Surf will 2-hit KO. I also have Toxic because likely switch-ins to Suicune consist of Whimsicott, Porygon 2, Slowbro, and Umbreon, all of which can't really do much back, but they do switch in and avoid being, damaged too much by a regular Suicune that isn't like a setup or variant or anything like that. So we can basically just throw a Toxic off versus all of those slow mons. We can click Protect. I mentioned that Trick Room is a huge option, a huge, what's the word? I guess that's the only word. Probabilities. There's a high probability that my opponent's going to bring Trick Room. So Protect here allows me to not only scout for that, but waste those turns of Trick Room. And Roar also helps me versus Trick Room. Not only Trick Room, but Calm Mind, Slowbro, Swords Dance, Aegislash, like Bulk Up, Conkeldurr, all kinds of different things. Dragon Dance, Tyrantrum, things like that. And once I get Stealth Rocks up, if Whimsicott comes in, switches in on me, and I'm able to poison it with the Toxic, that would be really dope. I would be able to then notice that it would probably be the only switch in he would like to switch in, and then I could just keep roaring it around and taking chip damage with rocks and Toxic damage and potentially Surf damage as well. I could potentially eliminate his only resist to Garchomp's Earthquake on his entire roster outside of Golbat, which doesn't, resist Dragon Claw. So Suicune's really cool in this matchup. It gives me a way to scout, a way to use pressure to weaken my opponent's PP number, and then also using Toxic and Protect to just scout, Roar to avoid, setup mons like I mentioned earlier. And then that's just about it for that. So on to the next half of the team. We have Fortress here, our boy Drasil, rocking the Aqua Berry and the Overcoat ability this week. We're rocking out with dual hazards with Stealth Rock and Toxic Spike because I felt Toxic Spike was a huge option, a really, really solid option versus my opponent. And Gyro Ball was the only move I really needed to use offensively. I'm not going to be hitting things too hard anyway. And then Volt Switch is just there to grab some momentum, especially against things like Aegislash if I was to find myself matched up versus that. So, but yeah, I have enough special defense investment and HP investment so that I can come in on Stealth Rocks twice, take 2 Moonblast, and then be roughly at half and be able to survive a Hidden Power Fire from Whimsicott if I decided to. Like if I was to scout for it early in the match and then was to come in on 2 rounds of Stealth Rocks, take 2 Moonblast, and then finally knowing that he's going to go for the Hidden Power Fire and not mine, and I can just go ahead and stay in. Survive that with my Aqua Berry and my special defense investment, and potentially knock out the Whimsicott with the Gyro Ball, or potentially just set up Toxic Spikes or something. But yeah, really solid mon overall. I debated having Crobat in this 4th slot, but ultimately decided on this set for this mon in particular. Just 64 EVs in defense. It's not really significant. It didn't have a place anywhere else, so I just went ahead and dropped it in defense. It could come in handy maybe versus Aegislash or something. So next up, I said we had a defensive Licky Licky, and I meant it. We have a max HP, max defense Licky Licky here. I can come in and I can take hits from Aegislash. I can take hits from I dropped my phone. I can take hits from Tyrantrum. I can take hits from Umbreon, and I can take hits. I can semi-take hits from Conkeldurr. As long as it's not Drain Punch, I can take hits from that as well. I do expect Conkeldurr to switch in on Licky Licky if he brings it, and I have the Licky Licky in. So I am packing the knockoff to get rid of any potential flame orbs or assault vest or anything like that that could, be a nuisance to my team. I have Ice Beam, like I mentioned. My opponent has Ditto, which could trace well, not trace, but impose as my Garchomp as an imposter and really damage my team. So I need a way to chew a hit and get some huge damage off, and I have that here with the Ice Beam and the max defense. So that's basically it for Licky Licky. Nothing much else to say about it. It does pass wishes off to Suicune, Fortress, and to an extent Garchomp. I don't really want to switch in Mega Alakazam or Tapu Lele in on attacks too much. I don't want them getting paralyzed. I don't want them getting poisoned or crit and knocked out or anything weird like that. I would like to avoid that at all costs. So mostly going to be passing wishes off to Suicune and Fortress and things like that. So it's going to be it for that. We can move on to Mega Alakazam this week. We're running a Modest Nature with enough speed to outpace Whimsicott and only needed 104 EVs, which allows us to put 152 in HP with max special attack and a Modest Nature. 252 and the plus sign. You gotta love seeing that on a Mega Alakazam in that special attack slot. So we got the taunt, which allows us to prevent things like Trick Room and Slack Off from Slowbro. Allows us to prevent rocks from both of his Stealth Rockers, which are Tyrantrum and Mega Camerupt. It allows us to prevent Golbat from doing anything cheeky, from Roosting, Taunting, Whirlwind, whatever it may be, Defog even. Porygon 2 can't recover, can't throw off Toxic or Trick Room itself, and Umbreon can't throw off Wishes. I also trace the ability Prankster from Whimsicott so that Whimsicott can't actually use any kind of cheeky Prankster abilities against me, such as Thunder Wave or Leaf Seed or anything like that, and I can taunt it and prevent it from doing that. And then Psyshock, Dazzling Gleam, Shadow Ball, the perfect coverage for this matchup. And like I mentioned, just need to weaken everything, set up my Psychic Terrain, and then Mega Alakazam can really finish this game off. If I can, listen to this, if I can get, okay, so I thought about running Psychic Mega Alakazam, and had I been able to get the Psychic Terrain up on a sack, maybe sack Tapu Lele to the Mega Camerupt, have the Psychic Terrain up, come in and trace the Sheer Force with Mega Alakazam with the Psychic Terrain up, and the Psychic having the ability to drop a special defense by one stage. I think it's a 10% chance. That would put out so much damage. I ultimately decided on Psyshock because I felt like Assault Vest Conkeldurr was a very big option. However, Conk is his Z-move user, so it's a little bit less likely. Rotom, Frost, and Tyrantrum are his other Z-move users, and he can only use offensive Z-moves, so that's something that's noteworthy. He could be like a Z Conk instead of an Assault Vest or anything. So maybe Psychic was better, but I felt like Psyshock was safer, despite the need, the very huge desire to want to trace Sheer Force. Sheer Force does actually help Shadow Ball and Dazzling Gleam though, so that's something to think about. But yeah, that's going to be it for the prep, and we can go ahead and hop into the battle now, and we'll be right back. Alright, so here we are with the replay, and my opponent chooses to bring the Umbreon, Slowbro, Mega Camerupt, Porygon 2, Whimsicott, and the Aegislash. We aren't seeing the Conkeldurr, no Ditto, no Golbat, so that's pretty nice. No Rotom Frost, so a little bit of speed investment on Tapu Lele and Garchomp that we didn't need. And no Tyrantrum, so no Dragonette shenanigans. We do see a very likely, it's very likely to be Trick Room and like a support Whimsicott with a Wish Pass and Umbreon. That being said, I felt like my opponent was likely to just lead with Mega Camerupt and set up his Stealth Rocks and then switch out accordingly, so that my opponent could have Stealth Rocks up and then put himself in a position to later come in and start nuking things with the Mega Camerupt. So that being said, and it being his only Stealth Rocker, I felt Suicune was a pretty solid lead for me. I didn't feel like Whimsicott was going to be his lead due to the option of Fortress being my lead or Mega Alakazam lead versus, knowing that I would trace the Prankster and be able to set up a substitute or be able to just taunt him or something like that. That being said, I'm just going to lead off with my Suicune and see what he wants to lead with. and he's going to choose to lead with the Porygon 2. And I don't know if he wanted to go, Trick Room immediately, or if he wanted to throw off a Toxic immediately, or what he wanted to do. He may just be a Thunderbolt variant here and want to click Thunderbolt, see what kind of set I am. He may be scouting. So lots of different things my opponent can do there. However, I'm just going to click Toxic here. No reason for me to click anything else other than Toxic. If he goes into Umbreon and he synchronizes me, that goes back to my aromatherapy set on my Tapu Lele, so I'll be able to get rid of that. Anyways, he throws in the Whimsicott here, and this thing is poisoned. And then he goes for the Encore as I protect myself. And knowing he's more than likely either just going to click the grass move or Encore once again, I'm just going to hard switch out to Fortress, and I'm going to be able to set up my Stealth Rocks here. My opponent hard switches into Slowbro as I get up my Stealth Rocks, but I can just hard switch into Suicune here. If he goes for Calm Mind or Toxic or anything like that, I don't mind. I can click Toxic here versus him, and then I can click Roar if he wants to like go for Calm Mind or Trick Room or anything like that. He can also click Protect there if he did go for the Trick Room. But he does go out to Whimsicott here. I'm just going to click Protect again as he actually goes for the Defog on this turn. So now I'm going to hard switch back out to Fortress, predicting either a Defog once again or another Lead Seed. So now I've got my Fortress in. I'm going to take the time to set up a Toxic Spike, as that's going to help versus Porygon 2 and Slowbro. And I can hard switch back out into my Suicune here, not fearing the Umbreon whatsoever. I can Roar it out. I know he's going to want to pass this to Whimsicott, so I'm going to want to Roar this out so that anything but Whimsicott catches it. And he's roared out into Slowbro, and Slowbro catches the Wish, but he basically just takes Stealth Rock damage and becomes poisoned, and basically there is no Wish to be Saw or anything like that. So that's going to be that. I'm going to hard switch out to Licky here, as he's not revealed to like Calm Mind or anything yet. So he does reveal Trick Room this turn, but I'm going to go for the knockoff as he switches out into his Porygon. So I get rid of that thing's Violet, meaning that Garchomp can more than likely knock it out without a boost after a round of Stealth Rocks. At +2. Just to guarantee, Oko, not 2-hit KO or anything like that. No matter how much defense investment he has. So here, I get myself in a tricky situation after throwing a Wish off to my Fortress. My opponent reads my Wish pass and goes out to the Mega Camera up to set up the Sun. But he doesn't want to take a Surf still yet. So I'm going to go hard into Suicune here. I'm going to Protect to get rid of a turn of the Sun. And then I'm going to hard switch out into my Mega Alakazam. I was going to go into Fortress there on the Solar Beam, predicting, Mega Camera, but he just switches out to his Umbreon. I'm going to trace his Synchronize ability here, and my opponent's going to click Pursuit as I click the Dazzling Gleam. He gets the Wish back. Here I'm going to reveal Taunt and let him know that he can't just pass Wishes around versus me here. And now Dazzling Gleam is actually going to be a 2-hit KO versus my opponent, as he doesn't go for the Pursuit this turn. He reveals Foul Play, so he's double stab with Foul Play and Taunt. Foul Play and Pursuit and Wish. Did he reveal Protect? I'm not sure if he revealed Protect. But he goes into his Aegislash here on the Dazzling Gleam, not wanting to let Umbreon go down yet. I'm going to hard switch out to Suicune as he gets a critical hit on the Shadow Sneak, and it still does nothing. I'm going to fire off a Surf here, knowing that's my best play. If he goes into Whimsicott, it's likely to die to a combination of Rocks, Surf, and the Toxic Spike. So now he brings in the Slowbro, goes for a Psychic, and Licky choose any hit. If he goes for Trick Room here, I just switch into this thing anyway and start spamming Knockoff. And worst case scenario, I lose Amon. But this match is going very much in my favor so far, so we're just going to go into Licky here and pass off our own Wish after clicking a Knockoff here. Get rid of his leftovers, see what he wants to do, and he wants to go for the Trick Room once again. Not a huge deal. We can just throw off a Wish here, see what he wants to do. He goes for the Slack Off. So now we're going to hard switch into Suicune in case he's got anything tricky up his sleeves. We want to just roar him out. However, it's nothing yet. We're going to stay in here. He goes for the Psychic as we click Surf, just getting a little bit of chip damage off. And then on the following turn, knowing he's going to click Psychic, we can hard switch out into Tapu Lele and force like a checkmate position where basically Amon has to die. So, predicting that, I'm going to double out into my Garchomp to set this up. I expected either the Aegislash to come out to avoid the checkmate position, the Porygon 2 or the Porygon 2. Basically, any of his mons that he switches out to puts Garchomp in a position to be a super huge threat. And I knew he was going to switch out because Tapu Lele just eats his hits and nukes him back. So no reason for him to stay in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to set up a substitute first to gauge his set, and he has Ice Beam. So I'm going to sub again and let that Toxic wear up, or start to tally up, I should say. And he actually clicks Recover, which I think was one misplay. But here I'm going to sub, and he actually switches out, which I think is another misplay, as sub was always my play there. I'm not in Salic Berry range yet, but if you look at his team, I don't need to be. I just click Earthquake here 4 or 5 times, and that should be game. He goes into Porygon 2 here. I'm going to click the Earthquake once again. I'm going to get the knockout with Garchomp once again. He goes into this Aegislash, clicks the King Shield, doesn't get a defense drop because it isn't like a contact move, and he switches out to Slowbro here, and basically has to sack his entire team to Garchomp. So we're going to pick up a nice 6-0 victory here. Unless any kind of weird shenanigans happen with the Aegislash here, we should be in a pretty solid position. Like if he's Shuka and he goes for the double Shadow Sneak, but he can't even break our sub, and we're actually going to pick up a nice 6-0 victory here in week 1, where Garchomp actually picks up 5 knockouts, and Fortress picks up the other with a passive knockout with the no. Suicune picks up that kill because he actually landed the Toxic on Whimsicott. He wasn't poisoned by the Toxic Spike. So yeah, it's going to be that. Our team just matched up really solidly versus this team. We had really solid speed tiers in this matchup, and we had ways to avoid Trick Room being an issue with Protect on 2 Mons, and then 1 Mon with Taunt, and then like our substitute Garchomp being able to bypass some turns of Trick Room and stuff like that. I felt like we had a really solid matchup in this match, despite my opponent having Aegislash, a mon that most leagues have banned, and I guess Tapu Lele's a mon like that too that most leagues have banned. We were both able to draft 1 apiece, and we had a pretty fun match here in week 1. Neither of our mons really stood out in terms of Tapu Lele or S tier mons. Tapu Lele and Aegislash didn't really stand out, but yeah, we had a really fun game here. Mega Garchomp doing what, why do I always say Mega? Garchomp doing what Garchomp does. The sub Salic Berry set's one of my favorites in league matches, and it's something we'll probably see again in this season. But yeah, that's going to be it. Good game to chill drive. Let me know what you think about the prep and the battle on both sides of the field. Let me know what you think about the future of the season. We're facing off against Mora next week, and we're going to be facing. We faced him in Season 3 finals. We lost to some Air Slash Flinch shenanigans from Serene Grace Togekiss, but we were able to avenge that loss in the later part of Season 4 versus Mora, and then went on to become Season 4 champion. So Mora is Season 3 champion, Scoot, Zamcrow, myself, Season 4 champion, and yeah, we're going to be facing off in Season 5 next week. So Season 3 champion versus Season 4 champion in Season 5 next week, and just let me know your predictions for that in the comment section down below. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for watching.